vet the technologies down to what makes sense. So we talked a little bit about RTI and our parent company, and you know, the Bressler Group is an absolutely great partner for this program. They fit on both sides, and we'll turn it back over to Peter here in a minute. But I also wanted to let everyone know that we're involved with the universities. So we're not just looking for commercial solutions, and sometimes that's good. There's nothing out there for you, but you know, there's emerging technologies that you could become part of, which are interesting to people. So Lehigh, Penn State, Drexel, you know, we're involved with their engineering groups to sort of help. So that's all I had. I think we're going to save Q&A for the end. So I'm going to turn it back over to Peter, because now what, right? You've got the idea and you found a way to make something, right? Or you have a market to go sell something into, but how do you build it? How do you integrate it into your company so that you can put it on the street for sale? And that's where, you know, Peter and his group can come back in. So,
thank you. This part is real short. What this is about is, as was just discussed, there's this great feasibility capability, finding of new solutions, markets, technologies, and once you've identified them, how does it become real? And very briefly, I'm just going to present a couple of examples where Bressler Group, which frankly is my old hat, Bressler Group has the capability of taking those directions that you've identified and making them into real product solutions. A good example in this case is Becton Dickinson came to us and they said, look, we've identified that we need a safety needle that can be made absolutely safe, fail-proof, with the same hand that you gave the injection with, instantaneously, without training. And oh, by the way, it can't have more than 5 parts and can't infringe on any of these 250 patents. Bressler Group was able to come up with a solution that in fact avoided all 250 patents and in fact enabled them to get a patent of their own that they have defended successfully 7 times. And in fact, we did it with 3 parts instead of 5. And the user testing, which I'm sure you can imagine was exhaustive, proved that 99% of the people tested could complete making it safe unschooled. That's when they give you the orange and tell you to give it a needle. So that was one of them. And this was taken all the way through to final production files for tooling. Obviously, BD makes their own tooling. They're now selling 25 million of them a year. This is the last example where, and this is, again, a local company. NK is a company that makes these weather instruments called the Kestrel. And before we got together and worked with them, they really were in a very narrow market space. And the enclosure that they had developed before restricted them in terms of the range of products that they could produce. The work that we did together really was just a redesign of the enclosure, but it incorporated what ended up being intellectual, let me see if I can point this thing, incorporated being intellectual property in terms of how this enclosure was sealed. And in fact, the problem with this is you need to be able to sense humidity at the same time that this thing is floating. And if you think that through, it can't get water inside, but it's got to sense the water, so it's an interesting trick. It was very successful. What it really has enabled is it's enabled them to expand the product line by 3 different models, which as a result has increased their market share because they were able to expand their market from 5% to 50% of their market environment. And their profit and sales increased by 20%, enabling them to work in a much broader marketplace than they were before. And this, again, was really more of a, it was there, how do you make it better? How do you implement it? How do you get it done? How do you bring it to market? How do you get it made? And that's really a lot of Bressler Group's strength. And that really is the end of it, to wrap it up.